Hey, this is Luke Simonds with Salt Strong. Today we're going to be casting a 12-foot cast net. So I'm going to break down the cast to everything you need to know. This is an advanced net. This is a very large net. You can see it's a 12-foot radius. So this is a monster net, but it's actually easy as long as you follow two things. As long as you do two things properly, everything else flows. And once you do it a few times, it's actually easier than a lot of the smaller nets. So after load, I'm going to put pieces of tape in the specific parts of the net. And then after I throw it, we'll be able to analyze, where the net ends up. So that way, if we don't throw a perfect pancake, if you're out there practicing, you don't get it perfect the first time, you'll be able to know if the problem's on the left side or the right side or the front or the back. You'll be able to know where in the load the problem is occurring and fix it next time instead of just a blind guess. All right, so the two things we have to make sure we completely knock out of the park to make a good cast is we have to clear the net. First thing is just clearing the net, because if there's something stuck in the net or if the braille line is caught around some weights, no matter how good your cast is, no matter how good your load is in your cast, it's not going to open up. So have to clear the net. And the easiest way to do that is I just hold it about maybe shoulder high from the weights, and I just grab a piece of net and just start pulling it out. And so right now you can see there's just two strands coming out. That means that's good. So there's one cluster I just saw. You can see there's that one little cluster right there next to this foot, right above this foot. So even little small cluster like that, I want to clear out, because what happened is a little bit of that braille line got around the weights. So I just lift the weights, put it outside the braille line, and it's clear, and we can continue. So now that I got about half of the net done, I just switch it around, and I just do the other one real quick. All right, so now that we've cleared the net, now it's all about loading it up. And so we're gonna go step by step. If you're throwing a big net like this, you probably know what all the terms are, so I'm gonna fly through it. But the first thing is just whatever, the backhand is put the rope there. I prefer to have my right hand leading, so when I throw this way. So this backhand is gonna be holding the rope. And the one thing to be mindful of though is I try to use a little bit larger loops on the rope just to save space in the hand, because this is a lot of material. This is a big net. It's only 3/8 inch mesh, so it's a lot of material to hold. So try to plan it all out where you don't have to have just a huge bulk of stuff in your hand. So I get it to about shin level from my waist. You don't want to go down lower, and I'll tell you why here in a second. So now it's time to load the net. So on a 12-foot net, it's important is to make sure that the right amount of braille line is hanging out of the top. And every brand is a little bit different. This one is from a Barracuda, and the way I like to judge, how much braille line should be out is I just hold it up. I get it taut so that the braille line down the main part of the net is tight, and now the braille line is just naturally falling down, and so that's its natural place. So the natural amount of braille line to stick out of the horn, which is this piece, is about maybe 8 inches or so. So every net again is a little bit different. Just measure it out. It just takes a second, and you never have to measure it again. Just know it. So I like to have maybe 2 feet or so from the horn up in the hand. And then here is the most important grab point. We just get it all there in one spot. And so I like to have it where it's about waist high. On a 12-foot net, I like about waist high. So I grab it again with all that material. I got the rope, and I got 2 layers of net in my hand. So that's the hold point. So now our hold is done. And I mentioned before as far as planning the loop size. So the one thing to be mindful of, and I've seen people do this wrong and it just hurts their results, is you want to make sure that all this stuff, all these loops, the horn, everything is above the weights. So you can see if I'm holding it down, it's not going to be impacting the weights. Whereas if I grab too much, I'd have a lot of stuff hanging down there, and then in the cast, that could create problem with the weights. It could grab onto the weights, and it's gonna hurt the cast. So no matter how big your loops are or whatever you do, just make sure at the end that there's a little bit of gap between the bottom of the coils and the actual weights. All right, so now's the fun part. Now we get to actually load it up. And with a 12-foot net, my preference is to split it in 2. And because what we're gonna do a technique that you don't have to put the lead in your mouth. A lot of people don't like doing that. I personally don't, and I used to catch my braces so often in the net when I was a teenager. But anyhow, I still prefer not to use my mouth, and I split it in 2. So I grab it. I've already cleared it. I just grab roughly half of the net, half of the weights, and just spread it out. And so this is the determining factor of this part is going to be in my front hand, and then this part is going to be in my back hand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put tape on each of these sections, and that way we're going to know exactly where it sits on the cast. But before I do that, I'll just show you how to load it. So I basically lift it up and I put my elbow in between. So now my elbow is breaking up, the front versus the back. And as I said before, I don't like to use my teeth anymore. If you use your teeth, you can just grab your teeth, put the lead line, not the lead of course, but just put the rope in your teeth and you can be done. But the way to not worry about the teeth is literally just to put the weights on your back. All right, so the next step is what do we do with this hand? Now, where do we grab? I like to grab maybe about maybe like a foot or so, because my hand's gonna be right here. So I wanna have just a small arch of net from my hand to my shoulder. So I just grab it right here. But one trick though is with the pinky is I kind of grab around the net. So I kind of hold on to everything. I hold on with this pinky just like an extra fraction of a second longer. And I'll show you in the replay why that is. So I grab onto it, I kind of pin it with my pinky, and then I grab up underneath the front part of the net and then let it slide down. Kind of got to hold it with your neck. So here's the load. So here it is again. I have about half the net in the front hand, half in the back. I actually think I have the back a little bit too much weighted back there. So anyhow, we'll see how it goes, and we're going to measure it. Let me just go ahead and flag it before I throw, and then I'll throw it and we'll measure the results. All right, so we have the net loaded and we have it flagged, and I'll show you the flags out at the end. I'll explain where they are. But as far as the casting technique, it's actually fairly easy. I keep both hands about maybe a foot apart, if maybe 10 inches apart, and have them the same height. And throughout the swing, I keep them the same height and the same distance apart throughout the whole time. So we're basically gonna twist, go down, and then get some good rotation. You'll feel those weights starting to fling out. And what's gonna happen is this front hand is gonna be shooting I'm gonna cast this way, so it's gonna be shooting over toward our left. And then the momentum from that swing is gonna shoot the backhand material off there to the left. And this pinky is going to control the near term stuff. So anyhow, let's go ahead and I'll just show you the cast. So this was the close hand. So this flag right here was right where my thumb was, or right where my pinky was holding. So the purpose of that is, I forgot to mention at while you're casting, the very last step, with your pinky, just kind of slide it over, kind of sling it in, because that's going to fill out. It's going to fill out this bottom section. And so this point was the area that was right on my belt buckle, essentially. So you can see it just does a little small rotation. So the area of my belt buckle I didn't get enough, I guess, side velocity going in. So on my next cast, I'm gonna rear further back, and I'm just gonna make sure to push it further out, because that's gonna fill out this section here. And so the last flag, so this spot right here was basically the very core, the very far end of my backhand. You can see that's going to be what typically fills out the front left quadrant. And then over here, about right in the middle, this is the area that was directly in between the two halves. The back half is over here, and the front half is over here. So that's typically going to be, kind of directly out in front and a little bit to the right of the thrower. So I need to get a little bit more velocity here. I didn't have as much out here as we wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit more material in my front hand, and that should help fill this gap, and that should also help free up some more power over there. So anyhow, we'll give it a shot and see if we can open it up bigger. This is still a big net. A lot of bait can be caught in here, but it's not the perfect circle, and we're off for the perfect circle. So now ready for cast number 2. We're going to take those corrective actions and see if it works. There we are. That was much better. And again, this is probably 3 years since I've thrown a net that size, but you can see this is a much better circle. What I did is I just saw those problem areas. I got more rotation, which filled out this back half. Again, this pinky section was here. It basically is like the closest place to you. So if you see a big cave on this section, that just means hold on with your pinky a little bit longer. And as far as this rotation out here, we can just walk out And see, you basically got a really good circle there. So I had just enough material. The split out was perfect in my backhand versus my front hand. That first one, the material in my front hand, it wasn't a 50-50. I looked at it and it was maybe like a 35% in the front hand, 65 in the other, and it just didn't have enough momentum in the front section to carry the back section open like that. So anyhow, that's the benefit of basically analyzing your cast, is that, you know, when there aren't, and when there's an imperfection, you can just look at it, know, okay, where in the hold is the issue, and then make a corrective action, and now finally get it dialed in. All right, so that's the video. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about the analysis of the net or the load or anything, just leave a comment down below. And if you're curious about the net, a lot of people have asked, you know, what nets I use, and I've used a bunch of different ones over the years. This one in particular is from Barracuda nets. Really nice nets. This is a new company. They're local over here in the Gulf Coast of Florida near Tampa. But yeah, just super nice. They're really nice nets, high end. But the cool thing about them is that, especially for people in Tampa, if you're doing a lot of catching bait on deeper water where there's a lot of structure, is they have a guarantee where if the net rips or tears or anything, you can get another one for half off. Just go to wherever you bought it and they'll give it to you right on spot. And so really cool guarantee. That'll save a lot of people a lot of money. So anyhow, check these nets out. Good people and good nets. And as I said before, if you have any questions about the actual throwing style, technique, let me know. I'll be happy to help. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I hope you can get on the water soon and catch some big ones.